Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, I inflict a whole lot of pain onto myself. Yet again. If this is your first time watching, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I apologize for my crappy hair. And please consider subscribing if you'd like. Maybe head through the back catalog and see something that you may enjoy while I step on bolts. And give me a little bit of a hand in trying to get some subscribers into this thing so that I can probably not get some ad revenue to run my race car. But today, well, if you're a longtime viewer, this will come as no surprise because this will be basically a second part of this series that wasn't supposed to be a series. Let me show you what I'm doing. Now you're all probably, if you're, like I said, a regular viewer, familiar with this rear. It's the one that I completely failed at building because of some reason that I have no idea what it is. I have it draining oil because I had it together enough to hopefully be a spare in case I needed it. Now, it's coming apart. This, however, is a whole other rear that I got for free. And to be honest with you all, if you think I'm a hack with how I built this thing, you haven't seen anything yet. Now, as I'm draining this rear, I'm inspecting it. Put my hand on the pinion and it moves in and out. Also, this washer doesn't look quite right, but more on that later. I already took the studs out of this side. You can see them on the floor because they are like this long and I need them to be like 4 inches. But look at this. Yeah. These are the kinds of welds that you take a grinder to just to get rid of out of embarrassment. Now let's see how strong they are. Oh yeah, they're mint. Let's go for another one. There we go. There we go. That only took one hit. That's very scary. That also only took one hit. That's pretty frightening. So, if you're gonna weld something, make sure it actually penetrates, because this is disgusting. Even I am not that bad. While I'm here, got my big gun out. Might as well start taking the pinion nut off so that I can get it disassembled. This actually has the carrier that I'm looking for that, so that I can try it, even though I went and got another one. So don't try this at home. And keep your hand like this. Don't get your thumb in there. It's just, you don't want to wipe it out. Just if it slips and it starts moving, it'll just, punch your hand like this, just kind of hitting it. But let's see if we can do this. Keep these fingers from wrapping around it as well. Keep it like this. See? Didn't hurt myself. Wait. All right. Wow, this nut is disgusting. What the heck? Hang on a second. All right. This thing is destroyed, which it shouldn't be because you're supposed to have a flat washer underneath it, which I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Oh, that just came right off. Okay. Yeah, that's a lock washer. You don't put these in on the pinion. Even I know that. I hope I have another washer. Maybe I can use this yoke again. Anyway, I'm going to get it torn down and we'll figure out what to do from there. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'm kind of hungry. I want to go eat some hot dogs. Not like I'm fat enough already. Back for day 2 on this new rear end redemption video. I don't know. I guess you can call it that because it's my second attempt at trying to fix a problem that I didn't quite understand. So I've got to revisit it so that I could at least give people an idea of if I fixed it or if I can fix it. So work with me. Right, these have been draining overnight. Got the rears all drained, hopefully. Gear oil is pretty thick stuff, so I gave it 24 hours to drain, basically 20, whatever. So we're gonna pull them apart. I need the parts out of that one down here, the one that I built, which I didn't really build. I had no intentions of actually racing it the way it was. I knew I had to fix it at some point, but I took 2 quarts of whatever gear oil I had sitting on the shelf over here in a jug, and I just threw it in. I didn't even know if it was used or not, but luckily I didn't need it, because if I needed it, I probably would have destroyed it. Anyway, gotta get this one taken apart, because this one appears to be newer than that one. And I think the carrier looks a little different. I'll actually show you the comparison between the 2 types of carriers, because I've never actually seen this one. And I'm used to using older stuff, so this might be a late production model. And anyway, I'll get to it instead of blabbing. All right, so disassembly. Like I said, these, in my last video, you want to actually seal up. If you can see this, I don't even know what you can see. But it's got these, you know, splines in it so that it engages the pinion. You want to goop these with some, you know, silicone sealant. Nothing major. Nothing like, you know, right stuff or, you know, the adhesive sealants. But just a gasket sealer, basically. And just, you know, slide it on there so that it doesn't leak through this, which this one doesn't look like it was, but it could be a little weepy. Now, jeez, I don't know what the hell just came flying out of there, but these caps I think are 5/8, and I seem to do everything with power tools, so make sure you push down on them hard so that they don't come flying off. There we go. That's normal. Now, I'm not used to these because I think this is a newer rear end, like I said. I think that this is a late production rear because, you know, these geometric cars came from 79 to 88. And I think this is like more towards 88. I'm used to seeing rears that don't have arrows pointing in. You know, they just have caps. Obviously, I just put them on the way they came off, but I'm not used to seeing that. Also, this carrier here, I'm not used to seeing this. Look, this backside of this carrier is a lot beefier. There's a much smaller hole. Usually the carriers are typically like this, way open, and you can see all the spider gears in it. I'm not sure why they did that design, but I'm sure there's some kind of reasoning for it. All right, I'll pull these caps. I don't know who built this rear. Obviously, because I got it from somebody who doesn't build rears. So he's like, oh, I got it for free, which I appreciate because he gave me it to say thank you for helping him out. Now these, let me get you down here and look at this real quick. These, which I see is no different here, are very easy to strip out. I typically use an 8 mil or 5/16 to get this out. And I use like a socket with a really long extension so it comes all the way out here and I can just do it like that. This might take a pair of vice grips, but I buy these all the time just to have as spares, just in case stuff like this happens. So right now I gotta get that out, C-clips out, pull the pin, pull the axles out, and then this carrier could come out. And then I take my brass thing, like I showed you in the last video, and basically smash the pinion out with that because then it won't mar it up. But you know, this is a 323 ring and pinion. I don't really have a use for it, but regardless, let's get it apart. Like I said, when you take this bolt out, I use an extension like this so that it'll actually kind of trap it by resting on here. See how it just kind of stops it? Oh God, I think I really should have left those caps in, but oh, all right, came off. Whew. Man, that was I was waiting to have to do that with like a torch and vice grips and have somebody just completely monkey tight that thing in, but luckily, I think we got away with this one, and it's not as stripped out as I thought it was. Good idea for this is to put this back in clean. Yeah, you know what? It really doesn't look that bad. Throw that in the parts case. Roll this up, get this pin out somehow. If you have something like a 456, you might want a specific pin that goes, you know, it's like shaved off. Maybe that's not the best way to go about that one. Maybe it's got to come out this way, because sometimes they just don't like going out one way. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, that one had a little bit of wear on the end of it. So then you kind of, oh, a pair of, or not a pair, but a magnet would work wonders. Oh, that one's all the way in. That's fine. You're going to lose C-clips. This is why, you know, C-clip axles are not the most popular thing in the world. All right, let's look at the Nightmare. Yeah, that's destroyed completely. I'm glad I got carrier bearings, because look at this thing. These bearings, look at, you can see the pitting on them. Yeah, this carrier's destroyed. I know this is a little bit lengthy compared to the stuff that I normally do. Wow, yeah, somebody just kind of slapped this thing together and complete reckless abandon. Usually I'm not a complete hack, you know what I mean? Normally I can throw something together and it lasts a long time, but there. A piece of wood over your drain pan does work. Help if I had a hammer. Yeah, this housing is definitely a lot different compared to that one. I should really kind of show what it looks like. It just fell out. Sorry. Oh, so what was holding the nose bearing in at all? You know what? Forget it. Here's a comparison of the two different types of carriers that I wanted to try to use, as well as I'll show you a difference in the pinion spacing, okay? Factory pinion spacing, which is basically what this one's on. This is a 323 gear set that I pulled out of this one over here. You just watch me do that. It has this one little shim here, okay? I'll measure it later. I don't know exactly what it is now. Usually it's about this, okay? Just one shim. Typically you can even reuse it if you know, want a good base for where to start. And then this carrier here, you can see this is the, I don't know what they call it, the 3 series carrier. You know, it's just kind of stepped up right about. Try to get this thing up in a corner here. You see it's kind of stepped right here. It kind of shoots like this up. This is your older, you know, 2 style carrier. It's kind of flat. So in order to step it up, you use this little shim, which I've gotten to work before, but on this application, I kind of haven't. So, you saw this one little spacer here on the pinion, which is what I took out and dropped on the floor and got all dirty. Yeah, brilliant. I'll wipe that off. This is what I ended up with on this pinion, which I shouldn't have to do. It's like 1/8 of an inch. Just to get a, I don't know, a little bit of a middle pattern here. And it's not even wiping across, it's just knife edging it. And then I'm still getting that. So something's completely wrong. So I'm gonna do a little bit of measuring here on these. And then just kind of, you know, take the shim off of here and put it on here. Try it in a different housing with a different carrier, because I don't know if this shim is really machined properly. And I know that if you go above a 308, you want to use this carrier if you don't want to use the shim. So that's where we're kind of at right now. We're at try stuff and see if it works phase. Here's a decent sideways comparison. You can see that this one on the left is a little bit more stepped down than this one on the right, which is a lot more flat. That's the difference between the two different carriers, but I can't really tell if one is wider than the other one, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of measuring and praying and hope that this thing actually goes together properly. Update. I gotta get the bearings off of this carrier, because if you look at this one, you can see that it is pitted beyond absolute belief and absolutely destroyed. So that's trash. I have my bearing vise, but I don't have a way to pull it, because the puller that I have is just a wheel puller, and it's not big enough to reach these 2 points on the vise. I have this slide hammer, but you'll strip the threads out if you try to use it like a puller. So I have a bolt with a nut underneath pressing up into this puller with 2 half-inch bolts. These are all half-inch bolts. A plate so that it can screw down into it. And since you can't see it because it's pretty much bottomed out, there's an aluminum like shim, like a big washer that's really thick, and it pulls it right off. So you got to make your own tools sometimes. Quick tip for pressing bearings. Always press on the race, not the bearing. There's an inner race and there's a bearing. I got another waist bearing under here that's like pressing on the race and pushing it down into the carrier. Now you'll be like, oh, what about the bottom one? Well, if you press it far enough, it'll actually poke a little bit of the carrier race out from the top, and see, it's not resting on the bearing, it's resting on the race. Hey, look at that. Some of the spider gear washers came out. Perfect. But, yep, when you press it on, just go until you don't see a gap anymore, which I'm not quite there yet, and you're done. Preliminary reports are in. I've got it not bolted in yet, so it's obviously not at its proper depth yet, probably. I mean, that does matter, so I still got to try that, but I'm done for the day, so I'm just kind of showing you what I figured out. You can see I did a kind of rudimentary wear pattern here. It'd be best if I could actually see it. Let's try it with a light here. And you can see it's not, oh, that's too much. Too much light. You can see it's actually kind of not knife edging anymore. It's actually kind of flat wearing. So that's a good sign. It does have lash, because before it didn't have lash and it wasn't flat wearing against the face here. It was kind of knife edging. Like one point was just kind of dragging along it like this because it was so off. And if I torque it down, it might even center it even more. So fingers are kind of crossed at this moment to have this thing actually work, which is kind of strange to me because I don't know why, but the difference in the carriers and the difference in the housings from the early production to late production just doesn't seem like it's that much, but it seems to be working. I mean, I looked up the manufacturer, which is All Star Performance, and I looked and I saw a note on the description that said it was a Series 3, and I'm like, okay, does that mean that these are different Series 3s than like an older Series 3? Because here, take a look. I mean, for my sake, at least, I have a different Series 3 sitting right here. Now, this is an older Series 3. It's not like this one back here with, I know that that's a late production. This is kind of an early production Series 3. I pulled this out of an S10. Got a really nice cross pin in it. I might steal that. I wonder if that's any different. Like, these rears, they're so ridiculous. You know, there's 2 different types of carriers and like early and late production, and it's like, dude, these cars were only made for like 10 years. Like, why is there a difference? I don't get it. But anyway, I'll get back at this in a few days and see what happens, and I'll keep you posted on anything that happens. So I still got a little ways before we go racing again, and I got a couple more options to put this thing back together. So keep you posted. Had a little time to think about it. We're just gonna dive right into this new rear that I've put in with the new carrier and all that stuff. torque down the caps, check the pattern again, see what happens. And in all honesty, it's kind of weird, but I took the 308 out of this rear. I might just put it back in because in case my brother wants to run, he can have a rear to run his car with or something. Kind of in the air at this point, you know. I'd really like to see him come out. Maybe I'll even give him 4 tires if he comes out, but I'd really like him to race again, but I'm not sure what this... We got 3 weeks to plan here, so maybe I'll come up with some idea. Anyway, maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. But I want to focus on the new rear. We're going to get that together again, like you've seen the whole video. So enough BS. I'll get into a couple little minor points of some different stuff that I'm going to do with this rear that I didn't do on the last attempt, I should say. So we'll get into that in a minute after I get her all put together and find the pattern, or get the pattern straight. So if for any reason you run out of something like marking compound, like this yellow stuff that they give you, there is a solution. I went to Napa and my local guy gave me this Permatex Prussian Blue. It's a non-drying, kind of greasy looking thing, but it's a dark blue, but you can still see the wear pattern. It works pretty good if you want to get a wear pattern put on here, like if you're like me and you don't have a pinion depth gauge. This stuff actually works pretty good for marking gears, and you can see exactly what your pattern is. Things haven't been going well in the meantime. I've been trying to get this to, you know, get the right pinion depth, and it doesn't appear to be far off. I mean, you can see on the coast side it's really close to the middle, and you can see on this side it's really close to the middle. Obviously the blue and the yellow gear marking compound has created green. Hard to see, need a flashlight, whatever. However, the worst part is my China tool, the bearing vise, pretty much all, it's, you know, to be expected with those kinds of tools. All the threads are completely stripped out of this thing because I used it. So I've got a solution. I went to Tractor Supply and I bought a bunch of 1/2-inch bolts that are probably not the right size. Yeah. Maybe 5/8 would have fit. Who knows? 5/8 looked a little bit too big. But anyway, I'm going to do this because that's what I bought and I don't feel like driving all the way back out there. And we're going to try to take this off. God, I hope one more time. Just one. It's been off like 20 times. I don't know how the bearing is still perfect. Oh, man. Wish me luck, but I really hope this really works. Okay, so all these 1/2-inch bolts do not fit. They are way too small, and we can't have that. So we got 5/8 bolts. Hopefully those work, and I don't have to make yet a third trip to somewhere I've already been today. Quick update on the China tool. Yes, 6-inch long, 5/8 size, grade 8 bolts will work in here and hopefully not go off the thread as badly as this nonsense did. So we are finally in business, I think. It's hard to see, but you can see. Let me see if I can get that light in there because it's blue on black, basically. It's really hard to find out. That says middle. That says middle. I don't care if you can't see it or not. Whatever, at least I tried. So that's as close as I can get it. I mean, I already put a solid crush spacer in it. It's more of a racing thing. If you got a road car, you probably want the actual crush sleeve. Yeah, try saying that one. I had a solid one that we use for racing, so I put that in there. And I set that depth before I put this in because I'd gotten to a point where I'm like, you know, we went too far, and you can actually see that we went way too far. We were marking the carrier, so I had to go way back. Tried that, didn't work, so I went back to stock with one shim, and that was probably the best wear pattern we've gotten. And I got 010 for backlash, which is between 8 and 10 thousandths, which is pretty much what you want. I'm going to torque these caps for good, just to make sure that they're good. Then I'll load, I don't know, spider gears, or I don't know what I want to put in there right now, if I want to put a mini spool or whatever, but I'll load that up, and that's pretty much it. It's the next day. I took a little break after last night because I found out that with this carrier, again, more parts from different things about one specific rear end that's just ridiculous. This carrier will not accept a mini spool if you want to use it. Only the large window carriers, like this one. This is a Series 3 carrier. It's got the big window. It's got the big window on this side. Remember, this one here has like a big window on one side, but like no window on the other side. This Series 2 carrier that I'm putting together over here, again, big window on one side, and this one's a little tight. Big window on that side. So if you want to run open, you can put your spider gears in. If you want to lock it up, you can put a mini spool in. But apparently, these big window ones are the only ones they work in. They don't work in this one. So I had to figure that out, and I don't, I want the option to be able to run either or. Like if I run Thompson, I could run open or locked. If I run Stafford, I can throw the spider gears in. So I had to swap that out. I'll probably put this on the shelf. And I got my spider gears here. I don't think I have a mini spool for it, but I can just throw it together for Stafford or whatever I'm going to use it for. So let's go over here and throw this together, and I'm going to put the cover on it and the axles in it, and we'll be done. And there you have it. I finally got the thing to work. It took a different housing, but I don't really fully understand what really happened. I took and I put that stock 308 that I took out of Old Reliable. I just put it back in. I'm like, you know what? If somebody needs it, they can use it, because you don't have to run 1-to-1. You can change gear ratios by running second gear and all this other stuff, old racer stuff. But I got this one ready. I put the spider gears back in it. I put everything back together. The pattern worked with the different carrier. I think we were on our third different carrier for the two different rear ends. Anyway, I got it out of an S10 that had 373 gears, and it seemed to work all right. Now, I did run into one little problem with putting new studs on it. I put long studs in mine because we have to run, like, I think this is a 1/4 inch thick. It's brake rotor off of 88 IROC Z Camaro. It fits really well with these brackets here for disc brakes. And then we have to run wheel spacers to make up the difference in track width, because the front's wider than the back. And all that's typical stuff with G chassis cars, because they don't measure up properly with anything. So I had to put new studs in. The way I do it is, like anybody else, I take a whole bunch of spacers, like washers that are way too big, and I just use a nut and just tighten the nut down until it pulls it in, until it stops, and then we're done. This axle seems to be a little bit old, so I had to weld all these studs in because they seem to not want to press in. They kind of were sloppy. So I said, all right, what I do is I tighten it all the way down. This is for demonstration purposes, obviously, but I tighten it all the way down so that it's square and flush. And then I zip it while it's still tight. And then, we take it off after it's already welded, and it's pretty good to go. So the other side seemed to press in pretty well, but this thing's ready to go in. I mean, it's got one more thing I got to do is just check it to see if it's bent. But other than that, we can do that some other time. It's got bushings in it. It's got spring cups in it. It's got the rear disc brake kit in it. So basically all I have to do is swap over my brake lines and we'll be good to go. So that took far too long, but I learned a lot, and that's all that really matters. I didn't know that there was so much difference between early and late production, that there were different it's over here. That there were different carriers that don't really work with certain parts. I mean, I knew there was 2 different carriers that they ran, but I didn't know that there might be some differences between early and late model production. It's all news to me. Ford 9-inchers don't have these problems, but I'm trying to get away from those because I want to see if it's my fault or if it's the parts that I put together's fault. So we're just going back to simplicity, and I can use this at a different track if I want to. So again, thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully this works out pretty well. It seems to have a good pattern, and the last time I built one of these rears, it worked pretty well. It never had a noise, never got hot, never fell apart, I guess. So fingers crossed. I did put together that 308. Like I said, I put it back together with the old rear end that it came out of, and it went right back together. I put a new crush sleeve in it, so that's all fixed and stuff. If my brother needs to use it, he can grab that. But now I got to swap this into there and add another half quart of oil, and fingers crossed this actually does something, because if I screwed up this rear, then I can take that on the chin because I did it myself, you know. But I'd hate to throw away a whole year because of my own mistakes, but this is the line you walk when you do things yourself. Learning takes error, and you're not going to be perfect. And if I throw away a whole racing season because of an error that I created myself, well, I guess that's on me. So live and learn. But again, this was part 2 of a series of unfortunate events with putting together a rear axle. So I'm glad it's over with. I'm glad I can just kind of get this stuff out of here. I'm glad I can finally get back to work on my car. I don't know what the next video is going to be, but we'll see in the future, because I got another race in another 3 weeks, sometime in early October. It's going to be the World Series, so I'll keep you posted on what I do next. But until next time, thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe. Tell your friends if you see anything you like, or maybe they'll like. Send them my way. Subscribing is free, and it does a heck of a lot for me. So thank you all for watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Till next time.